morning guys, Moorhuhn here. Today I want to take a look with you at my BleedCloud Druid, but before that I just wanted to say, because I had requests for that, that for this Vinebear Summoner the character overview will be in the video description, because I haven't done it yet because I was not happy with the build. However, I did some changes and there's more upgrades to do, like instead of levels on the helmet, we want the attack and cast speed for summon vines, which I just dropped yesterday a base for, so there's some stuff that still is in the works. However, this character for me just doesn't have the recovery to make it feel great, because when we drop low life we don't really have a great option to heal back up. So if I manage to fix that, maybe I will get back to this character, but I don't know yet. But I will put the description of the character, the planner, into the comment section so you can take a look. But let's swap over to the other character. So here we are. Let's take a look at the BleedCloud Summoner something. So the general idea of the build is to eat up locusts, to create a cloud around you that, well, spins, and then you can run through the map and kill enemies on the way. What makes this build very interesting and worth building around is this node, the Bloodlust Swarm, which makes this cloud scale with bleeds per consumed bleed on enemies with the Swarm Blade strike, and a lot of flat damage scaling and more damage scaling. And let's take a look. We have on both trees spec that we can transform from form to form, so we can swap between Werebear and the Swarm Blade. We are using the Werebear to traverse the map and to use Roar, so we can use the Warcry skill tree. For Berserk, because Berserk is a very strong buff, and then we just stack up leads on the enemy, like maybe up to 400 to 600 on some bosses. On the current gear I can get a lot more with later gear, and then the cloud just hits like a truck. That is the general idea for single target. For clear we're just roaring and then transforming, but I'll show that in a map real quick. We're going to play one Monolith, one Reign of Dragon Boss and one Erebus here, just to show some clear and some single target. And after that we are going to take a look at the gear more precisely. This character currently is at corruption close to 300. For the enemy start, there's a few options. When we have enemies like this, you want to just roar, and then this sometimes the cooldown randomly resets. And the very big problem of the build can be to, when you mess up your rotation, you're kinda stuck. But you can, like this, roar, get the enemies close. The roar pulls in the enemies and applies bleed. And then when we change form, we can summon up to 6 locusts, one for every stunned enemy in the area. So the roar stuns the enemies, pulls them in, we transform, spawn the locust, and then we use the Swarm Blade strike to get a swarm. And that is the general idea of the clear. For clearing, we just run through, look for a big group of enemies, pull them in, and get a swarm going. On some maps that is not, well, working very well, because there are no big groups of enemies, or the enemies are too weak. That sometimes happens when your first swarm strike just kills them. You are not getting a great swarm, and that's sometimes risky, because then you get a swarm that doesn't deal a whole lot of damage. But when you have a lot of enemies here, the more enemies you hit, the stronger the swarm is. And then you just want to go into bear form, because your defenses are a lot higher in bear form, and run around. Also, when you are transforming from the Swarmblade into the what's called the Vinebear, you're getting 4 seconds flat on the swarm, so that you usually never really run out of it without being able to make a new swarm, except for when you mess up your combo, which can be very deadly because defense wise we are heavily relying on leech that comes from the swarm. And the second form of defense is flat health gained, or recovery. So, not defense but recovery. Is, we actually will do the boss first. When enemies die that have bleed stacks, you're gaining health through these relic. We're gaining 20 health per stack of bleed on the enemy that dies, and oftentimes enemies that die have like 20 to 40 bleed stacks, especially rares, sometimes even over 100, so we are gaining a lot of health through this, because our squirrels apply a lot of bleed. If you don't have the squirrel ham, you can use another option, but we'll go through that later. For bosses, the Emperor of Corpses especially, I do usually start with this, then transform to the Vinebear. And depending, okay, this one already one-shots, holy. One-shots my Locust, so that doesn't work well. But we now consume the Locust and get a good chunk of DPS out. Oh no. What is important is to like go into Vinebear when you're going here, because you want the Berserk buff to be up. Then just apply a lot of bleeds, get the cloud going, and then hit the enemy more to gain in more bleeds. And when you know, okay, my last explosion was... Oh no, this is not good. I'm going to die here. I survived! Holy shit. I'm not getting my rotation out well right now. Focusing here. This boss is fairly annoying here. 15. I'm looking for like 18 plus all resistance, but I just can't get it. Keep current. Also, the resistances aren't great yet, so yeah, there's still a lot to do about the defense of this character. But we're getting there slowly. Yeah, let's take a look at Erebus, and then for Erebus we can, like, he works much better from like a DPS showing standpoint than the Emperor of Corpses, because the Emperor of Corpses just is a very, very annoying boss. But here we can just spawn this, go into the Vinebear form, wait for the human form or the form switch to be ready, and then we just want to Warcry and switch forms. And that get a fairly decent... Yeah, we shouldn't really take all this. Oh no, I messed up here. I made a swarm very little damage. You have an 18% execute, but yeah, this pretty much sums up how the character plays in single target and in clear. We still will gain a lot of damage, but we won't get absolute insane values, I don't think, but yeah, I see how far I can get the character still. However, my idols still are very, very bad. We have some bleed here, but this can go much higher. This one will be like one of those as well, with health and chance to bleed. This one will have health and chance to bleed. This one has chance to bleed and currently physical damage to Swarm Strike, but this one will be minion chance to bleed and bleed duration, and we will copy this to here and have the same down there, and then yeah, something like that. That is the general idea of the idols. But for the gear, the most important part really is a high bleed chance, so you want weapons with bleed, and if you don't have these squirrels, you can't really rely well on them doing a lot of bleed, because you will likely not go with the squirrels but with the summoned crows. The wolves are okayish, they can apply some bleeds, but I personally didn't like them all that much, because they like, it's just not worth. They're just not nearly as good as the squirrels at applying bleed. And before we go for the squirrels, I'm using the crows, because they can apply an insanely strong armor shred, and you just get to like 40-50 strength through some scaling of the trees, through some items, and then the crows put like 60 armor shred stacks on the enemies that count as if they were like nearly 200 armor shred stacks. So you gain loads of armor shred through the crows. Yeah, before you have the scroll helmet. But the scroll helmet is by far the best helmet, because it gives chance to bleed and chance to shred physical resistance. Mine currently is not all that great on the on those parts, but yeah, the scrolls just are very fast. They deal a lot of, like, they don't deal a lot of damage, but they can bleed very well. Other important items to the build really aren't there. I am using a body with Swarmblade form, bleed duration, and just a lot of health. Some resistances. We're using the +1 physical skills. However, a very good option as well is the Oribus belt. Let's take a look. I have it somewhere here. There. Shattered Chains is a very, very good option as well, because we will put 4 doom stacks on the enemy, then like make the enemy take more melee damage, and the swarm cloud counts as melee damage. The belt as well gives 5% more melee damage per stack of doom, so this one gives 20% more damage, which is very, very, very good. But I would need a decent 2 legendary potential one to be better than the Thorn Slinger, I think. And I just don't have that yet. But the Thorn Slinger is very good as well. It gives movement speed, which is nice. It gives bleed, which is very good. 1+1 to all physical skills is very, very good, because physical skills is all 4 of those. Then we've got the Blood of the Exile boots. While these are very good with strength, dex, intelligence, all very nice, are not the best in slot, I think, because later on we will have a lot of bleed duration, and bleed duration is the biggest part of these boots. So I still have some options open for the boots, but I'm not exactly sure on what I want to do yet with it. But yeah, I'll keep you updated on that properly. Then we have the gloves. Here I just have some leech, attack speed, health, endurance threshold, which is just nice defense, and some void resistance in the implicit that is, well, we are capped. But yeah, I still have to figure out the resistances of the build. We have the Valdor's Chalice, which gives bleed duration, over time leech, which works for the cloud, and then the health gain. This is just the best thing you can use. Like, you want +4 Warcry on it. I'll show in a moment why. Which would be the best in slot by far. So I will still have to farm a 2 legendary one for me to like get proper mods on this. Then for the rings, there isn't really good mods aside from minion health and resistances. So you just want to seal a resistance or something and then get health, more resistances, and minion health on it. The other ring is a Siphon of Anguish, which currently has very bad mods on it. Like I have a few in the works, but yeah, I haven't really done a proper one yet. But it gives Doom. Doom is more damage, which is just very, very good. And it gives melee leech, which works for the swarm, which is very good. Then the weapons just have bleed, and this one has frailty, this one has armor shred, which is not totally necessary, but yeah. For the gloves, you could later on use Juras with armor shred. I had them somewhere. Here? No, here? Yeah. Like you would want Juras with armor shred there, but there is still this other options to get armor shred. Then we have an amulet with just minion health, resistances, and I think that's it pretty much. Like the bleed duration from the body armor, the hybrid, is a very, very important mod, because it just makes you, well, it lets you stack a lot more bleeds. You can, however, if you want to, use the Woven Flesh for a long time. It makes your leech a lot better, so you're just gaining health very, very quickly. And if you get this one with health and bleed, I think you would need 3 legendary potential, because health, Swarm Platform, and bleed duration just are way too good mods to not have. But overall, the Woven Flesh is a very good early body, like, because it gives critical skill, strike avoidance as well. It's just a very, very good body. But that's pretty much the gear we are currently wearing and the idea of where I want to go with the gear, but I'm not actually sure on all of these details yet. Then let's take a look at the skill trees. The most important one is the Swarm Blade form. We are getting some bleed here. We are getting the Bloodlust Swarm, which is the most important. We're getting area here. We're getting more damage here, more damage here. The direct transformation to the Vinebear is important. We get Viper's Call to let us use the Serpent Strike skill tree, and we use the Earth Stinger. So very important. Both are options that I have tried, and both are very possible. I'm not sure on which one I like more, but I think it is the Serpent Strike variant. You can use either Serpent Strike with this, then you use the Upblade Slash most of the time. The other option is to use the Sweep skill tree instead of the Serpent Strike skill tree, and go with the Vinebear form for applying bleeds. It is slower as a baseline, but it has 150% chance bleed, or compared to up to 100% here, but we are more starved on the points in the Swarmblade form, so you can just throw the points everywhere, because there's a lot of very, very good nodes on this tree that you generally want to take. However, the Vinebear form is the generally more tanky form, so while in Vinebear you just are, well, you're going to survive more stuff. But for the Vinebear, we just take the bleed stuff here, we take area and enrage mostly for the direct transformation, because when we transform directly, we are we're spawning Luqas, what I explained earlier, for every stunned enemy in the area, which just is, yeah, very, very good. However, it can only spawn up to 6, and we can consume up to 12, so the swarms are not as strong, which is why for single target we have to spawn them in the Luqas, in the Swarmblade form. Then we just gain some endurance threshold here, and these nodes as well are not as important, because the idea is to get 60 endurance without it, but currently we don't have that. But in the Vinebear form we have too much, so these nodes are not as important. Then for the squirrels, you want the most important stuff is the bleed nodes, the safety in numbers, and the pack hunters, so you have 6 squirrels. Then I did put points in battle cries so that they self-buff themselves and gain a lot of attack and movement speed, so they can apply more bleeds. If I had more points here, I would put them on the hand most likely for more attack speed. Maybe here, but the problem is that they don't really kill enemies, so this just doesn't work. And when I kill enemies, I could do that, but I don't really need the hull in like while clearing. It's mostly for single target, so this doesn't really help. We just want them to hull when they attack bosses, so they can attack faster. And finally, the Serpent skill tree. We're taking the 18% cull here, of course. We're taking Serpent Venom. 1 point here is good enough, but I just wanted 2, so I always apply it. This makes enemies not be able to crit, so we gain crit avoidance against pretty much all bosses here, which is very nice. And then we are just taking the bleed here. We don't really take Swirling Carnage because we don't have Maelstrom stacks, otherwise this would be very good as well. Then we get Armor Shred and we gain Steel Eater. This is not an insane node, but we gain 4%. But like, first of all, we don't have a lot of good nodes here left. I could take out these 2 and gain some dodge rating, but I don't have a lot of base dodge rating right now, so it's not really worth it. Maybe later on with some dodge rating to like just be more tanky, or like just to avoid hits from bosses would be the main idea here, to gain dodge rating here. But with our current, we have 12 dexterity. That makes the armor shred here 40% better. So that's pretty decent actually. Like if we gain 50 armor shred stacks, it would count as 75 more or less. So that's very, very good. But that's pretty much all I want to talk. One thing, blessings. I don't have all the blessings yet, but you want resistances here. You want all res or resistance here, life of course. Then here you can take armor, both armor nodes or armor and what's called. Like there's some options. I will put well, actually I have it here. Yeah, this would be my current dream setup, which I'm not 100% sure on if I want to do it like that. Like here you can see bleed duration, chance to bleed a minion hit, bleed duration, chance to bleed a minion hit, chance to bleed life, chance to bleed life, chance to bleed life, and then some health and armor. And what did I want to say? Blessings. Here we have health blessing, all res, lightning resistance, endurance threshold, and armor is pretty much the best options we have. Later on we could put on Joras with attack speed, and yeah, that's pretty much the idea here. Undisputed with 2 legendary potential or 3 would be by far the best X we can use, I think, because we can get a lot of bleed on hit, and most importantly we gain a lot of attack speed because it has a tier 6, I believe, melee attack speed, so we can get to tier 13 attack speed with legendary potential, and that would pretty much be the best in slot just because of the attack speed. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk for today. So if you have any questions about this build or the other builds, feel free to ask, write it down in the comments, and see you the next time.